He's ready to go live. I just saw the thumbs up. So is this live now?
We're live now.
We're live now? All right, so being live. Why do we have to be live? I don't like being. Is that what that means? All right, so am I good?
You're good.
Okay. So we're going to get started. Sorry. Welcome to Staff Council Orientation. Here in this room and here out there, or over there, or out there where you're at if you're watching online. So thank you. My name is Ruben Perez. I'm the outgoing president. I appreciate everything that everyone has done so far, but then now the new people are coming in. So thank you for willing to be a part of Staff Council. Staff Council is a great place to really get things going and really get across a lot of your ideas and thoughts and creativity and initiatives that you may want to push and get out there to the campus and be able to help out other staff, and then going and helping out faculty as well and students. So we all try to work with each other to do what we can on campus to help all the governing bodies out. So I just wanted to come in today before Andy Moon, which is the immediate past president, but then now the immediate, as of September 1st, will be president-elect coming back for you all. So again, my name is Ruben Parrish. I just want to say thank you, and thank you for running, and thank you for being, congratulations for being elected to be on Staff Council. You're going to have a wonderful year. You have a great president. And then Vice President is coming up starting September 1st. Emily Merrill, she'll be here later on to be able to possibly speak to you all, but she will be here so you can meet her if you don't know who she is. So again, thank you, and now I want to turn it over to Andy Moon.
And by the way, if you ever want to learn anything about dancing, this cat, that's where you want to go. This cat can teach some dancing. So I'm Andy Moon. I recognize several of you. So I've worked with some of y'all on various things in the past, worked with a couple of y'all actually directly. So welcome to Staff Council. I do have some slides. I really want to be informal. If you have questions, I want you to ask questions. If you want to have a conversation about anything in particular, go into depth on any of this stuff, please let me know. I'm kind of going to just go through the slides. You're going to slide for me?
Yeah.
Man, you kick so much butt. I love walking around, so I hate being tied to, a slide presentation. Let's go ahead and advance one here, Iggy. So the purpose of Staff Council, we serve as one of the three governance advisory bodies, so student government, faculty senate, and Staff Council. And really, we try to be the voice for staff when it comes to decisions that are made about things that are going to end up affecting us. And we really have a lot more input than some people think. Just as a couple of examples off the top of my head, we were fairly instrumental in getting the staff scholarship increased from $1,200 to $2,000 a couple of years ago. And I appreciate that. Other people definitely appreciate that. We put on events every year, including Cougar First Impressions, which just happened. That's my busiest time of the year, historically. We also do the spring egg hunt every year, which that's even better than CFI. That's probably my favorite event. It's so awesome to see 500 kid smiles. I mean, you can't beat 500 kid smiles. The only thing that beats kid smiles is baby belly laughs, which are just incredible. Anyway, we don't get as many of those as I would like. But so we try to promote the recognition of our staff contribution to the mission of the university. We serve as a voice for staff. Let's go ahead and move on there, Iggy. So we were created in 1986. We had our first election in June of 1986, and the first council had 19 members. 16 were for specific areas and 3 at large. Go on. There we go. We do have bylaws, so we're actually governed by bylaws, and the bylaws are all online. We've been engaging in some rewriting of the bylaws because a lot of them are, were written a fairly long time ago. Up until recently, didn't include things like the ability to teleconference into staff council meetings, which we have the technology to do these days. We do have a constitution, which is also out there on our website. We do get funding from the president's office for our various operations. We get a significant amount for Cougar First Impressions every year. And then our program manager, Tandra Simeons, her salary is also provided as part of that. Thank you. So currently we do have 40 members on staff council. 37 represent specific divisions. So it's broken down by the number of people who work for those divisions. So it is proportional. Academic affairs, if I remember correctly, is the biggest group of folks, followed by A&F, and then you've got like the president's division, which is just one representative. And then we have 3 at-large members as well. Our 3 at-large members aren't tied to or elected by a particular division. Everybody who votes in the staff council election does get to vote for the at-large members. We do require that you serve on 2 committees. Now, we have a wide variety of different committees that are available to you. We do have, now, one of our highest priorities is making sure that we have enough people for our internal staff council committees. And we're going to talk about what all they do here in just a bit. But it's like the Cougar First Impressions Planning Committee, the Membership and Elections Committee. Both co-chairs of M&E are here. So that's just awesome. And Membership and Elections takes care of all of our staff council elections. The Events Committee puts on pretty much all the events except for Cougar First Impressions, which is big enough to need its own committee. Staff Affairs, which does things like look over MAP and SAM policies when they're being modified, suggests policies and that kind of thing. Professional development for deciding who gets scholarships and those types of things. And which ones am I leaving out now? Communications, co-chair of the Communications Committee. And like I said, we'll get to all of them. Now, we also ask that you serve on one of the standing university committees. Now, the university committees are a wide variety of different types of things. I'm on the bookstore advisory committee. One that has a lot of competition for members is the food service advisory committee, where they give you a free lunch every month. Parking and transportation, which is always contentious. We do have a wide variety of standing university-wide committees. So if you want to look over that list, I know that Troy Christensen is going to be sending out a preference survey so that you can list which committees you might like to serve on. So that we can make sure and get you on at least one of the university-wide committees. So we do ask that you serve on 2 of the staff council committees as well as at least one university-wide committee. We do have a program manager, so there is a full-time staff council employee who takes care of, various and sundry staff council needs. So reaching out to divisions and departments and colleges for donations to the Cougar First Impressions, to both our monetary donations as well as donations for swag and things that we give out at Cougar First Impressions. She's normally here to take notes at these types of meetings. Not sure where she is today. All right, the staff council officers. We do elect our officers every August. So basically, at the end of your year here, we'll have nominations in July, and we'll nominate people to serve as technically you don't nominate the president. You nominate the president-elect. The president's position is the only one that's a little weird in this list, in that the president ends up serving for basically 3 years. You serve for 1 year as the president-elect, which gives you a year to kind of get up to speed on, what all is required of you in that position. Then you serve for a year as the president, and then for a year as the immediate past president. We have a secretary responsible for making sure that we get meeting invites out, taking notes during the meetings, creating the minutes, all of that good stuff. The treasurer, who keeps track of all of the money that we take in and spend. Parliamentarian, make sure that we follow all the rules. So that would be our bylaws. Anything that's not covered by our bylaws, we follow Robert's Rules of Order, which is basic parliamentary procedure. We also have a historian who collects and archives and makes sure that we have all of the pictures and stuff like that saved for historical purposes. Our committees, so the one that I left out was appointments when I was pulling those off the top of my head a minute ago. Appointments takes care of appointing people to the various university committees, making sure that we have all the representatives that we're supposed to have on those committees. And Troy Christensen is one of the current co-chairs, and I'm blanking on the other one right now. That's okay. Communications, Iggy is one of the co-chairs. Do you have another co-chair at present? We'll get you one if you don't. I'm sorry? Aaron. Oh, Aaron. So communications takes care of the website. Whenever we send out communications to the community, like, hey, come volunteer for Cougar First Impressions, those types of things, any of those communications come out of the communications committee. Cougar First I'm going to have some of these people come up and talk in more depth about what their committees do here in just a bit. Cougar First Impressions does the planning for the Cougar First Impressions event. And events takes care of every other event. So things like the staff mixer, the spring egg hunt, the Cougar First Impressions volunteer luncheon. Basically any event that's not Cougar First Impressions is taken care of by the events committee. Membership and elections, make sure that our elections go smoothly, and also make sure that any spots that open up are filled. So I think some of you in this room may not have been elected, but were then asked after the election to join. I'm guessing that that's the case, just because that's how it usually happens. Then we've got professional development. They take care of our scholarships. Then staff affairs does all kinds of stuff around MAP and SAM policies. And then there are some examples of the university committees, the bookstore advisory committee, which I'm on at present, the safety and security committee. One of their charges is making sure that the list of places where you're not allowed to carry a concealed handgun is updated. Homecoming Steering Committee, the Student Centers Advisory Board, LGBTQ Resource Center Advisory Board, and there's more than 15 more university committees that do a wide variety of things. So the Appointments Committee, I'll go ahead and read for Troy since he is not here at present. The Appointments Committee does recommend to all of our standing and university committees, and it's Troy that'll send out a preference survey. So he'll ask you, which of these committees do you think you'd like to serve on, and then they're responsible for putting all that together and making sure that everybody gets assigned to at least one committee, and that everybody gets assigned to committees that hopefully they have some interest in. Because I mean I ended up on the Women and Gender Resource Center Advisory Board once, and I'm just not a woman. I mean, and I don't think it's a requirement to be a woman for that committee, but I think in a lot of ways it probably helps. So the University Commission on Women, I think I need to update that slide because it's now the Women and Gender Resource Center Advisory Board, I think is what it's called now. Faculty, staff, traffic court, they go over all the they used to go over all the tickets that people got and, kind of adjudicate that. I understand that committee may be in flux right now. Food Service Advisory Committee is always a popular one. Safety and Security, the Sustainability Task Force. And then the Transportation and Parking is kind of related to the traffic court, but is a little bit different. It's actually about policies regarding parking. So every time that there's a parking increase, so every year when there's a parking increase, they talk about what that increase is going to look like and how all of those things get balanced. So we do actually have voices when it comes to these things. Sometimes, the realities of the situation overweigh our voices, but that's the reality of the situation sometimes. Go ahead. Would you like to talk, or do you prefer I do the talking?
You're doing great. I
do talk. There's no doubt about that. Any questions about anything so far? All right. Just entering the room is Tandra Simeon. She is our program manager, so welcome to Tandra. If you ever need anything, this woman is spectacularly helpful. Absolutely a wonderful person. Absolutely. And succeeds in every case that I've seen so far. So the Communications Committee is responsible for our communications, including the website, the newsletter that we send out whenever we need to send out notices to the community, like I said, the CFI volunteers, or when we send out the staff survey a little bit later this year. That'll all go out through the Communications Committee. Communications Committee conducts this particular meeting, and this year we're even recording it so that hopefully if we get new members in the middle of the year, they'll get an orientation too, which I know that some of y'all, I'm looking at you, Scott, didn't get during the middle of the year because you joined between elections. We do provide communication support for other staff council committees. So if your committee, if y'all are ever talking about, well, how do we get this communication out? Well, we talk to the communication committee, and we can get stuff done on the website anytime that you need. You look at the website and, hey, this doesn't look exactly right. We'll get a hold of the communication committee to take care of it. We also approve and distribute Cougar Kudos, which are basically peer recognition to say, hey, you did a great job at this, that, or the other thing.
We also do Twitter and Instagram accounts.
Very new. We do have Twitter and Instagram, and I actually have a couple of things that I wanted to talk to you about that regarding trying to automate some of those things. Okay. Cougar First Impressions is one of those efforts that's near and dear to my heart. I served as the CFI co-chair for a bunch of years, right up until I got elected staff council president. And once you're president, you're not allowed to co-chair a committee too, so I had to give that up. But I really love that event. I work in IT, so I don't get face-to-face with students a whole lot. And that's really one of those efforts where I feel like I get to affect the students and what happens with them, and I get to see them a whole lot more than I do in my daily work. We go out and give out maps and directions and information in water, and I'm pretty sure that most of y'all have volunteered for CFI before. I'm just seeing nods up and down with the exception of this one here. Buried in the data center and just doesn't have time. I get it, especially the first 2 days of school sometimes. So much of the funding for CFI does come from donations from out there. So we get donations from all the different colleges, both monetary as well as the giveaways, the frisbees and the pens and all that good stuff that we give out. This slide is inaccurate. We just celebrated our 22nd year of Cougar First Impressions. Events Committee, and one of the things that it does that I didn't mention is the sock and blanket drive, which we do every fall, which is just come in and donate all the new or gently used clothes and blankets and things like that you might want to donate. Over the past few years, we've also taken donations of new underwear for I'm blanking on the program name, but basically they give underwear to elementary schools. My wife works at an elementary school, and she gets the donations every year for the kids that's have accidents. I mean, it happens. Kids are kids. The annual spring egg hunt, which I mentioned, is one of my favorites. I really love the smiles on the kids' faces. If you haven't brought your kids to an egg hunt and they're in that age range, highly recommend. The Staff Council holiday potluck. So every year around Thanksgiving, we do a potluck. And most of the time I bring my red beans and rice, which I'm pretty darn proud of. That's something to not miss. We have a good time at the potluck. We play games and have a good time. The leadership luncheon, which we normally have combined with this event, but then everything went a little wonky this year, so we're not doing the luncheon this year, if I remember correctly. And assistance in planning Cougar First Impressions, specifically the CFI Volunteer Luncheon, is taken care of by the events committee. Would you like to talk about M&E? All right, well, apparently I'm going to be the dancing bear today. So membership and elections took care of your election, made sure that we got everything coordinated with Patrick Daniel in the testing office so that we can, over the course of the last few years, we've done those elections online. In previous years, actually, when I came on staff council, it was paper ballots, and we actually shuffled bits of paper around to do the elections, and thankfully we've gotten away from that mostly, and we do all of that stuff online now, and so they coordinate all that good stuff. Anytime that there's a vacancy, which happens during the year, people change jobs. In fact, this year we had our president-elect take a new job just before he took his presidency. It happens, and so they recommend people to fill vacancies. Generally what happens is we go over the list of people who are involved in the election, and we pick the name that got the next number of votes. And that's usually how we try to choose those nominees, and that way it's people that have actually participated in the election. Make districting decisions. So we've gone away from districting really, but the only districting we do is we try to make sure that our membership is representative of the population in the different divisions, and that way the ratio of ANF folks to academic affairs folks to division of student affairs folks is proportional to the number of employees in that area. And that's the apportionment part there. And all of that is required by our Constitution and bylaws. Professional development, I don't see either of those folks here right now, but as I mentioned, they take care of our Staff Council and Women's and Gender Resource Center scholarships. So Staff Council has funding for 5 scholarships of $1,000 every year. And then the Women's and Gender Resource Center provides 5 scholarships for a total of 10. And our Professional Development Committee looks over all the applications and assigns those out to the appropriate people. The B. Renee Milton, who was our program manager before Tandra took over last year, right? Was it 2 years? Oh, my God. I know. Time just flies. So she was our previous program manager, and one of the efforts that she really pushed hard was a scholarship for students who happen to be the children of staff members. So the Students of Staff Scholarship. And then the Roger Peters scholarships, we have 2 of those. They're slightly bigger than the Staff Council and WGRC scholarships. And then we're still working on the professional development stipend. So we've got a fund for professional development stuff so that one of these days when we've got enough in the fund, we can do things like send people to conferences and other professional development programs. Staff Affairs goes over all of the various things, goes over a lot of the different policies and procedures that have to do with UH staff. They look at benefits. They look at parking stuff, safety and security. The Staff Affairs Committee puts on the annual Conversation with Staff Council event, where we invite folks from staff members from all over campus to come in and talk about what their concerns are, what their most important topics are, the things that they think we should be talking about and pushing up to administration. The annual Staff Focus event, which is the event where we have Dr. Couture come and President Couture come and talk about the things that are relevant to staff members on campus. And then every 2 years, Staff Affairs also does an employee survey, and this is one of the years that we're going to be doing that. So if you have any experience in surveying or those types of things, that might be a good committee for you, because they're going to be putting that together over the course of the next couple of months. Our staff council meetings. So this is really one of the big and important pieces. We do have them the first Thursday of every month, and we do have some bylaw limitations as far as how many you can miss. All right, if you miss 3 staff council meetings in a row, you're going to get a letter from our friendly membership and elections committee saying, from our parliamentarian saying that you forfeited your position. Now, you can appeal that, and it's really not a difficult appeal. I can only remember one case where we refused somebody's appeal. And just as an example, I got one of these once because I was taking a class that was held on Thursday afternoons, and faculty members are surprisingly inflexible about their class times. So I missed that semester, and they sent me a letter automatically, and I literally wrote a 1-sentence appeal saying I'm going to be back because, you know, I don't have this class anymore. And then you can miss, once you miss 4 meetings over the course of a year, you get the same note. So the staff council meetings are, I mean, really central to what we're doing. They're the first Thursday of each month. They're at 1:30 in the afternoon, and they happen in the Faculty Senate room on the 3rd floor of the MD Anderson Library. Now those meetings are open to all staff. So if you have folks in your office that want to see what staff council is about, if you're trying to talk them into running for staff council, or even if they just want to see what goes on, they're open to everybody. Anybody's allowed to attend. We also have guest speakers come in. So if people in your department or people in your area want to get information out to staff or staff council, that's one of the forums where they can do that. We do have executive board meetings, which are only required for people on the e-board, which is the officers, the secretary, treasurer, the various presidents, as well as the co-chairs of all of our standing committees. So general members aren't expected to come to those. Those are where we kind of talk about the things before we talk about them the following week. We do those the last Thursday of each month. Our staff council committee meetings, the meeting times vary. They vary based on the availability of whoever the co-chairs are that year. So those co-chairs change on a pretty regular basis. So those meetings are going to be based on the needs of the co-chairs and the members. Our recent accomplishments, we did put together a 30-year anniversary video. We also added staff awards that did not have the designation of exempt and non-exempt. So we added some President's Awards that are just open to anybody. We did 2 years ago do a pilot program for Take Your Child to Work Day, and then this last year we did Take Your Child to Work Day again. I see at least one person in here who participated in Take Your Child to Work Day. We raised the staff tuition scholarship for from $1,200 to $2,000. And like I said, 2 years ago, we celebrated 20 years of CFI. So what's next? Biggest thing, make sure you attend the monthly meetings. Start thinking in your mind about what university committees as well as what standing committees you'd like to serve on. We do have a couple of committee chairs here, so if you want to talk to them about what their committees do or whether you'd like to participate, please go ahead and do that. And let other people in your area know that you're a staff council representative. They may not even be aware that there, well, was an election. There are a lot of people that don't even know that council exists. But so you just want to let the people in your area know so that if they have concerns, if they have information, if they, want information, have them send it through us, and a lot of times we can get those answers for them. Is there anything next? Yes. No, that you went backwards. So we do have our website up here. Office line is Tandra's office line. Email address, that email alias goes to the current president, so the president-elect, and immediate past president, as well as the co-chairs of the communication committee. And so it ends up going to a whole bunch of different people if you need to send anything. I mean, we get lots of random stuff to that email address. It's kind of interesting sometimes. And do we have anything else in there? So one of the other things that I wanted to show you today is one of the mechanisms that we use for communication. And I can just go there. Well, I can click in here. There we go. So one of the things that we use for communication is SharePoint. And it kind of makes sense because I'm the SharePoint administrator, so I'm going to choose the things that are that I know the best. And this is where we put things, where we put anything that we might need for either upcoming meetings or just for saving for the long term. So I've got this, I've got the site set up so that when you log into the Staff Council SharePoint site, which if you've not gotten an invitation to it yet, you will, right up here in the top left, I've got materials that are for the upcoming meeting. So the meeting that's going to be a week from tomorrow. There you go. So the meeting that's going to be a week from tomorrow. We've got our minutes. We've got our minutes for that meeting, for the immediately preceding meeting, and then we'll end up having reports for like the treasurer, the treasury report, various committee reports. So Cougar First Impressions will put their committee reports there. We also have materials for previous meetings, and this is sorted by date. So if you wanted to go back and see, well, what were the materials you were talking about, back in October of 2017 or in March of 2018, you can go back and take a look at any of those materials. So minutes of the meeting, the meeting dates that we had out there, our special meeting or our general meeting agenda, the appointments report. So anything that's submitted for the various meetings ends up getting sorted into our previous meeting materials. And you're welcome to upload anything it is that you think might be applicable. So like I've got the slides that we just went through on here, and the training for the Cougar First Impressions volunteers. Anything that is applicable to Staff Council, we can put in here. Now, I also have a form for submitting committee reports, the standing committee reports. If you just click that new item link there, then you can put your name. There's a list of the various committees so that you can just choose the name of the committee that you're reporting on from the list. If it's a committee that's not listed there, you can type it here. You can list the community date, the committee meeting date, and take any notes that you might want to take. If you happen to have an agenda or some other materials, you can attach those files directly to your report here, and so that makes it pretty easy to submit any reports that you need to submit you attend a university committee and you want to report back to staff council what y'all talked about and all that good stuff. So again, the previous meeting reports are here. So if you want to see what any of those previous reports looked like, you end up on the Food Service Advisory Committee, you want to see what people have reported on before you, you can go back in and take a look at that. So SharePoint is what we use for kind of storing all of the various assets, any files that we may want to store. And this is also where where our professional development committee goes over all of the scholarships. So all of the scholarship submissions go here into SharePoint, and a lot of that is because we want to make sure that all that stuff is available in case somebody needs to come back and audit it later on and make sure that we weren't biased in our assigning of those scholarships. All right. We have one other communication tool that we use, which is our Staff Council listserv. And if you have not yet been added, I will be adding you here in the next couple of days. And the listserv is real easy. Just send an email to the listserv and it sends it out to all the Staff Council members. So you can use that if you ever need to communicate with everybody on Staff Council. All right, so I just stood up here and talked for about 35 minutes straight. And any questions? Concerns? What did I not show you that you wanted to be shown? If y'all don't say anything, I'm just going to let you go. So, please. Yes. Okay, the question is for the committees, are we going to send an email to let them know our interest? The chair of the appointments committee, Troy Christensen, will be sending out a preference survey where you'll be able to indicate, which committees you're interested in serving on. And if I remember correctly, it's even going to have a ranking so that you can, rank, well, this is number one for me, this is number two. And that way you can indicate which committees you're interested in. Now, that's for the university committees. For our internal staff council standing committees, you can pretty much just choose which ones are of interest to you. So for the Cougar First Impressions or appointments or elections or staff affairs is always a real busy one if you just have a mind for policy and procedure and that kind of thing. No. Communications, if either you know how to do things like work on the website or feel like learning how to work on a website, well, communications might be for you. Cougar First Impressions, I always had a great time on the Cougar First Impressions committee. Once a year we do an ice cream tasting in July, so that's always a nice little pick-me-up. So you get to pick your own staff council committees. The preference survey is because we only have a certain number of slots on each of the university committees. And some of those slots are taken. But Troy will be sending out a preference survey for that. Have you not seen that email? Okay. Okay. So and the Cougar First Impressions one, you're a is a lot like Alcoholics Anonymous. You're a member when you say you are. If you want to be on the CFI Planning Committee, just start showing up. They can definitely use the help, absolutely. But that's one of our internal standing committees as opposed to one of the university committees. The university committees are like the bookstore advisory and things that are external to staff council. Yep. So the comment up here was, I saw that email, but I had no idea what it was about because I hadn't been here yet. Yeah. So hopefully, there you go. So go back and search for an email from Troy Christensen if you either hadn't seen it or have ignored it, and just let them know what your preferences are. you won't see the staff council committees on that. So that's just for the university committees. The staff council committees, you can participate on those at your discretion. So we ask, if there's no open slots, then I don't think that Troy will even really survey you for those. The list should only have the ones that are open. Okay. I would say the have to serve on would be the two staff council standing committees. And then kind of, more, as you have the time or as you have the ability, we want to make sure that all of our university committees are filled up because we want to make sure that we have a staff voice present at all of those. But the ones that we really want you to be at are our standing committee meetings. So yeah, if there just aren't any open slots available, but again, during the year, slots will open up and Troy will be asking during meetings, hey, is anybody interested in bookstore advisory or whatever it is? So at the beginning of the year, well, they're going to use the listserv pretty much. They'll send out a note that says, "Hey, this is when our committee meetings are going to be." I usually recommend to them that they send out calendar invitations because if it makes it on my calendar, I'll be there, and if it doesn't, I won't. I am a slave to my calendar. That's how my life goes. I show up at work, I follow my calendar's directives, and then I go home when it's time. So, but yeah, they're usually pretty good about sending out calendar invitations. I know that the two co-chairs in attendance now are very good about that. I always get the ones from communications, membership, and elections. No, all the committees are pretty good about making sure that. Now, some of those, at least one of those committees is more seasonal. The professional development committee really doesn't have as much work to do until we get close to giving out scholarships, and then so kind of towards the end of the spring semester is really when their work ramps up. So that one's more seasonal. The rest of them pretty much go year round. Please.
And just so I understand, so for the staff council internal committees, we need to contact the co-chair and say we want to be a part of that committee, and then they'll know.
Well, and really start showing up to the meetings is the big thing.
How will we know when they are?
We're going to send it out to the listserv. Yeah, well, they'll send out communication to the listserv saying, "Hey, here's when my committee meeting is." I end up getting a calendar invitation for every single committee, and then I decline the ones that I'm not going to go to. So so you'll end up just declining the ones that you're not going to go to, and if you're interested in CFI or events or whatever it is that you're interested in, please just start going to those meetings. They will let the membership know over the listserv. Other questions? As you can, yes, please. Over the course of the year, that means you need to be at least 2/3 of the meetings over the course of the year. Over the course of the year. So, I mean, we recognize y'all have jobs. I mean, I totally get it. Like I said, I was in class one semester and I missed 5 meetings because, faculty members just don't care that I have staff council. They just don't care. And sometimes your boss doesn't care because you've got a project to do. We recognize that. One of the things that we've gotten added to the bylaws recently is that you do have the ability to dial into a certain number of meetings per year. So you can come in over Skype for Business, and that can count as, I forget, it's like 1 or 2 of your attended meetings a year. Do you remember? Doesn't matter. It's in the bylaws. And that way, you even have some flexibility if you have to be at your desk, but still want to attend the meeting and be able to hear what's going on and participate in that kind of thing. You're allowed 3 of those per year. So, we're trying to maintain some flexibility without making it where, everybody just dials in from their desk because, that kind of defeats the purpose. Other questions? As you can tell, I'm pretty question friendly. And please take that's how I am like year round. So if you have any questions about anything, I've been on staff council now for it feels like my whole time here at UH. I know it hasn't. I know it really hasn't been, but it really feels like it has been. So Stephen Burns, one of our distinguished members. Seriously, this guy works, man. This guy is awesome. If you have any questions, if you think to yourself, man, I'm confused about this, that, or the other thing, if you just don't know about it, if the email from Troy is completely confusing and, please get a hold of me anytime. I try to remain highly available. We do have the staff council committees. Let's see. That's over there. They're listed actually more prominently on our website. So uh.edu/sc expands, but uh.edu/sc for staff council. And then we've got, I know it's there and I'm just totally overlooking it. About a boot. Yes, if we're in Canada, that would be a boot. And then committees. So there's our internal committees, the appointments, communications, CFI, events, membership and elections, professional development. And then there's a link at the top to the UH committees, and it lists all of them. And there's a whole bunch. Like I said, the bookstore advisory committee. I was on the university hearing board 1 year. Met a grand total of one time because they only meet when there's disciplinary stuff to do. So thankfully it's not as active as some others. But yeah, the list of all the committees, all the committees, all the bylaws stuff, stuff about scholarships and the spring egg hunt, our sock and blanket drive, which is coming up. All of that stuff is right there on our website.
I believe I may have agreed to some things when I first came on that I didn't know I was agreed to.
Okay.
So how do I find out if I really agreed on it?
Well, you're welcome to ask me.
Because I think I got on that hearing committee, but
Okay.
I can't remember if I did or not. But I think I did.
If you are ever curious about what committees you are on, email Troy Christensen. He's the chair of our appointments committee, and he has the master list of everybody who's on various committees. He'll be able to tell you. And I may have very well encouraged you because that's one of those that hardly ever meets, and really, the people who conduct the hearing are very good about communicating with you and letting you know what's expected of you. If there is a hearing, they'll provide you all the materials you need to review and give you the date that you show up. So I did all that. I reviewed all the materials, like 80 pages of stuff, because, I don't have anything else to do in my life. And then we showed up for the hearing, and the complainant didn't show up. Oh, okay. But, it's one of those that only meets if there's a complaint that actually goes to the hearing stage. And even then, they've got a pool of hearing board members, so you wouldn't even hear all of the complaints. You would only hear the ones that you end up being assigned to.
I've seen one meeting in the last year.
Yeah, it's not particularly active. Thankfully, it seems like our campus is. He's a great committee chair. From what I hear, I haven't been president for a year, so everything that I see, he seems to be on top of it. I know I get a meeting invitation every single month. I showed up for like 2 because. Other questions? Please don't ever feel like you're bugging me by sending me questions, by giving me a phone call. I have 12 and 14-year-old boys. You're not capable of annoying me. I mean, seriously, take that as a challenge because. Mm-hmm. Students of staff. That's correct. That one. So the WGRC and staff council scholarships are for staff members, as well as the Roger Peters scholarship. Those are all for staff members. Yes. The Students of Staff scholarship, it's it's a scholarship, and then they can use it in either the spring or the fall, or spread it over both semesters. But you end up having to apply once a year. So our scholarship applications are once a year, and then depending on which scholarship it is, they're usually evenly spread over the fall and spring semesters. Excuse me. Burger King was good today. Other questions, concerns, anything at all, really? Well, then get the heck out. And again, I have not. No, I did not chew up anywhere near as much of the time that we put on your calendar. So feel free to use that extra hour and a half any way you see fit. Man, if your boss thinks that you're gone for the rest of the afternoon, you do what you need to do. I'm gonna go catch up on some work because I have this job thing.